So one of my favorite bands since I was very young has been Kiss. I've always loved them since the first time I heard them. Now, most people out there will know Kiss for the makeup, the huge theatrical stage show, the pyrotechnics, and not to forget, the insane collection of self-branded merchandise. But Kiss actually have some great guitar riffs. And when you have all that other stuff to look at, it's kind of easy to forget sometimes about the catchy riffs that they do have inside their songs. While most of their guitar parts aren't going to be breaking any new barriers and, pushing the limits of what the guitar can do, what Kiss can do is take a simple riff and basically craft a really catchy rock song with some great hooks. So in this video, I want to share with you my 5 favorite Kiss guitar riffs. So before I show you my 5 favorite Kiss riffs, I just want to say a big thank you to the guys at IK Multimedia for sponsoring this video. All the tones you're going to hear in this video are coming from the IK Multimedia ToneX One, which you're going to see on the screen right now. The ToneX One is loaded with a profile of a Marshall Plexi style amp, and that's going through a profile of a 4x12 greenback loaded cabinet. What I'm doing with this is I'm trying to recreate that 70s classic Kiss sound. So that is paired with my Ibanez PS60 guitar. The tone I'm using is a pretty typical kind of classic rock, 70s rock sort of tone. It's not super high gain. I've taken a lot of the low end out because typically at that point in time, bands didn't really record with a ton of low end. So the tone I'm going to be using throughout the video is this tone you're going to hear now. In this video, I've also got the guitar tuned down a semitone. So instead of E to E, the guitar's actually tuned E flat to E flat, just like Kiss do for most of their studio recordings. So you can play all these riffs in standard tuning, but if you want to match the sound that I'm playing in the lesson, and you want to match the sound of the recorded versions, you need to tune your guitar down a semitone to do that. So once again, a big thank you to IK Multimedia for sponsoring today's video and hooking me up with the ToneX One that you're hearing throughout this entire video. If you want to find out more about the ToneX One, there's some links down below in the description. You can check those links out, give you all the information you need to know about this really cool unit. So now I'm going to dive into my 5 favorite Kiss riffs. So these are in no particular order. I'm just going to start with a riff that I've always loved since I first heard it, and that's the main riff for the track Black Diamond. The riff in question sounds like this. This is a really fun riff to play, and I've always loved the way this riff sounds. It's based around an A power chord, but we're not playing the power chord as an entire power chord. We're actually arpeggiating the chord. So starting out with the open A string on its own, and then we're playing the second on the G, second on the D, and then the open A again. Once you've done that arpeggiated power chord, it then goes to this run. So we're playing open 3 on the low E, and then open A. Then on the A string, 3 to open, back to the 3 on the E. And that goes to an F power chord. Then we have the bit that probably is the trickiest bit of the riff. We're actually jumping up to the 7th fret on the high E and the 8 on the B. And we're alternating the 7 and 8 on the high E like so. So I would play this with my index finger and my middle finger, freeing up my 3rd finger to go on and off that 8th fret of the E string. So most of the riff is based in one position, but there is that big jump. So here's how that sounds slowly. And then here's the riff once more at full speed. The second riff I want to show you is the bridge riff from the track Strutter. Again, much like Black Diamond, this has been a riff that I just loved from the minute I first heard it, and it was probably one of the first Kiss riffs I actually learned to play on the guitar. So this is the riff in question. So again, not a super difficult riff, but a fun, catchy one nonetheless. We're starting out with a B power chord here on the 2nd fret of the A string. We're playing this 3 times, but on the first time, we're playing the A string open. So it's the open A and the 4th on the D. On the first repeat, we're letting that first B power chord hang a bit. And then we're playing it twice more, but a little bit quicker. So it's the same 3 notes, but the rhythm is different on the first one. Then we're playing just the B note on its own, which is the 2nd fret of the A string. Coming to that same power chord, but rooted from the D string. Playing it like that once. Then we're jumping up to the 5th fret of the A string. We're playing a D power chord, followed by an E power chord at the 7th. Then an open A and the 2nd fret on the low E. And that's the end of the first repeat, which goes like this. The second repeat is exactly the same, but we're putting a different ending on it. So that second ending is a G chord, but instead of playing the whole chord, we're playing the low note, followed by the higher notes. Then we're doing a D power chord. You can play that here as well, but I'm playing it here to an A power chord. Then it goes back to that B. And you're playing that 3 times, and that then leads you back into the next section of the song. So here's that riff broken down slowly. And then once more at full speed. The third riff I want to show you is the opening riff for my favourite Kiss song, which is a track called I Stole Your Love, and the riff goes like this. This riff is a little bit more difficult than the other 2 that we've done so far in the video. It's based around a power chord shape, but we're constantly moving in and out of these double stops. So we're starting out in the 4th position of the A string, as if we're playing a C sharp power chord. Everything happens from this position other than a couple of notes we'll be moving outside of it. So starting out by playing the root note of the chord, and then we're playing a double stop on the 6 of the D and G, and pulling that off to the 4 of the D and G. Playing that root once more, and then that double stop on the 4 once more. What you don't want to do is you don't want to hold a bar here, because you're going to let that root note ring. And it can become quite messy. So when you're doing it, you want to really practice slowly and get used to going from the double stop to the root note. Kind of rolling your finger on and off that root. It then repeats that figure once more. Then jumps up to the 9th fret for a double stop on both those strings. The second part of the riff starts exactly the same. Then on the second repeat, it does something slightly different. So starting off the figure the same way, so we're playing the root note, and then that pull off from the 6 to the 4 on the D and G. Jump back to that root note, but then we're going to the 2nd fret double stop on the D and G, up to the 4. So this is quite a busy one. You're gonna have to take your time with this one because there's a lot of different moving parts, and also that thing we talked about rolling from the double stop to the root note, that can be quite tricky to nail, so spend some time going over that slowly. Here's that riff in full played slow. And then once more at full speed. The 4th riff I want to show you is the opening riff for the track Love Gun. This one always gets me excited when I hear it because this again was one of the first Kiss songs I heard and instantly fell in love with the sound of the band from this riff. Here's the riff in full. So this is an entirely power chord based riff. There's 2 main parts to this riff. You've got the rhythmic figure that sets up the riff, and then you've got the riff itself. So we'll start with the rhythmic figure that sets up the riff. This is entirely based on this E power chord at the 7th fret of the A string. You're going to be playing this 4 times, leaving a little pause, playing it another 4 times, leaving a little pause. Then it goes to a bar of 3/4. What we're doing here is we're doing a triplet on the 1 and 2, and an 8th note on the 3. So we're playing this 7 times. And then there's another slight pause at the end. So it's 2 groups of 4 and a group of 7. Then we go into the main riff. That also starts with the E power chord. Let that ring out. Then we're coming up to the 10th fret power chord and we're going to go 10, 12, 10. But before you hit that first 10th fret power chord, play the strings muted. So there's that little kind of scratchy mute in there. Then we're coming down to the 5 and the 3. We're letting that 3rd fret power chord ring. Then we're playing the 5th fret power chord again, but we're sliding it to the 7. So you get that drag up to that E power chord again. Then we're playing the 5th and the 7th once more. And that's that whole section. It's quite a simple riff. You're just moving power chords around, but the things to watch out for is that scratchy mute note and that slide. Here's that riff played slowly. And then played at full speed once more. And the 5th and final riff I want to show you is from a more recent Kiss studio album called Monster. And it's actually the opening track from that album. It's called Hell or Hallelujah. And the riff goes like this. This is another riff that when I first heard it, I instantly loved. Because to me, even though it's a newer Kiss song, it actually has a lot of those hallmarks of the classic Kiss sound. So most of this is double stops played on the D and G strings, but we've got the odd single note on the A string. So starting out with an open A string, and then we're playing a double stop on the 5 of the D and G, and sliding that down to the 4. Then we're playing those 2 strings open, followed by a double stop on the 2nd fret, pulling off to open. It's quite important that you remember to pick that first open double stop. Then we're playing the 3rd fret on the A and pulling that off to an open. Double stop on the 5 of the D and G. Cut that one short. That's also an important thing here. You've got to make sure that first one is cut short. And then we're playing that double stop twice more before going to the 7th fret on the D and G. So you can hear that stop there in effect. And that's all there is to that riff. Those are the 2 main parts. So you've got the bit that slides down, and then you've got the bit that jumps up with that little pause. Here's that riff played slowly. And then once more at full speed. So there you go, there are my 5 favourite Kiss riffs. Let me know down below in the comments what your favourite Kiss guitar riffs are as well. Once again, a big thank you to the guys at IK Multimedia for sponsoring this video today. Like I said earlier, if you want to check out more about the ToneX One, there are some links down below in the description where you can do that. Let me know what your favourite Kiss riffs are down below in the comments. Don't forget to hit the like button, and if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing as well. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys very, very soon.